What the government cannot legitimately do is to resubmit to the House the same proposition.
If it weren't so already, the UK is officially in a state of constitutional crisis.
I think this is a much bigger failure of statecraft than Suez.
Can you remember a speaker with so much power?
It's difficult to think of one, certainly in modern history.
The UK Parliament doesn't have rigid rules. Instead, a set of conventions were formalised by the former Clerk of the House, Erskine May, published in 1844. The 496 pages don't represent a binding legal code, but instead a series of procedures that it's down to the Speaker to then interpret. And it's his strong implementation of this passage that led to his ruling today that the government could not again put forward legislation that was substantially the same.
If the government wishes to bring forward a new proposition that is neither the same nor substantially the same as that disposed of by the House on the 12th of March, this would be entirely in order.
But although parliamentary procedure supports Speaker Bercow's decision, there's also an argument to say that he's acted against the wishes of the House.
The argument that the Speaker is acting out of bounds is that last week the House voted for a motion to rule out no deal, which included the idea that if the deal was voted down a third time, then the government would be mandated to seek an extension. Now, so some people basically say, well, look, the House has already indicated that it does want another go-round at voting for this thing, and that Bercow is frustrating that decision of the majority.
Crucially, there isn't a black and white answer. The decision is based on the Speaker's own reading of the rules.
This is a judgment that this Speaker has made. You might have had a different Speaker, would have come to a very different view, would have thought that perhaps that this is such a big deal that it requires having another vote because we're, such a short time now to when Brexit occurs. So as with much of Erskine May, with the parliamentary convention, certainly, it does come down to interpretation.
The Speaker's current power can be traced back to the government's failure to win a majority in 2017.
Normally we don't see this kind of thing because we're used to majority governments, and if the government had a majority they would be able to put down some kind of motion to say we disregard this convention, and so the Speaker would be, his powers wouldn't be as strong as the government being able to change the rules of the House through having a majority. But they don't have a majority, and that's the problem with all of this.
So what does this say about the Speaker? Traditionally viewed as someone that might help the Remain cause, this was an act that could increase the chances of a no deal.
He's always really been a Speaker who sees himself as on the side of backbenchers, and what tends to happen with MPs is when Bercow rules against him, they go, oh, this is because he's against me. When he rules for them, they go, he's on my side. I think what we've actually seen here is a fairly consistent John Bercow approach to politics. A lot of the time that has helped Remainers because they have been the ones who've had the least influence over the government. Now it helps some Remainers, but it of course also helps no dealers because no dealers do not have very much influence over the government. So really this is just classic John Bercow.